Are you a professional pillow fighter? Or a 9-to-5 low-cost time travel agent? Or maybe real estate sales on Mars is your profession? It doesn't matter. Whatever it is you do, however complex or intricate, Monday.com can help you organize, orchestrate, and make it more efficient. Monday.com is the one centralized platform for everything work-related. And with Monday.com, work is just easier. Monday.com, for whatever you run. Go to Monday.com to learn more.
Regen auf mein Kopf. Hinter via Deckelbus ist die kleine Fahrt im Top. Geht mir kein Sach nicht, die Tropfen.
Welcome to Kill Me Now with Judy Gold. I am your host, Judy Gold, and we have a very special episode of Kill Me Now this week, and a very special episode next week, part 1 and part 2. With my friend Leslie Wolfowitz's mother, Sally Frishberg, who survived the Holocaust. And her story is there's no words to describe her story, but it is moving. It's a story that needs to be told. And with all that's going on in the world, I wanted to shed some light on the horrors of our past, and so that we don't repeat them. So I hope you enjoy part 1. It is riveting. And, sit back, or don't sit, run on your treadmill, ride your bike, do whatever you're doing. And I hope you enjoy this as much as I enjoyed spending time with Sally Frishberg. We're here with Sally, and we're here with my friend Leslie.
Hi.
Whatever. But we're more interested in Sally. Sally Frishberg.
Yes.
This is my Jew bell, Sally. Yeah. And every time I mention something Jewish on my podcast, I ring a bell. Because I want people to know how much we have contributed to the world as Jews. And I know that this episode will be this. So I'm just ringing it a few times in the beginning so I don't interrupt you. That's it, people. Don't yell at me about that I don't have the bell on. But Sally, this is a very special episode of my podcast because I have been wanting to interview you. You can ask your daughter, Leslie, since I met her.
It's true.
Leslie took I teach a class in writing, and I made her write about the Holocaust, and it was brilliant. She is a very good writer. She's excellent.
That's very nice.
Right.
Still have an essay she wrote years ago about her clogs that I threw out.
Oh,
I kept
your clogs?
Clogs. My mother didn't like my clogs and she threw them out.
I don't find,
I wrote it to
not
shame
attractive,
her.
the clogs. They're not. And why? Everyone, are they that comfortable? How old were you?
But her clogs had such a nice personality, and I threw those clogs.
I know. It's good to humanize shoes, Sally, we live in this world. It's 2022, and I believe anti-Semitism is on the rise. I mean, I don't think it ever went away, right?
You're right. It didn't. And it comes with the times. The worse the times, the more anti-Semitism. The world seems to need someone to blame for its trouble. And the world wants to get even with all this trouble.
Right.
And the party to blame is a good party to get even with by punching away. And we suffer the punches.
Why do you think, it's been since the beginning of time.
Since the beginning, actually, we have a very good idea historically of the length of its development. And the problem began when the Jewish community had a difference of opinion. Is there one God or more?
Right.
And that difference of opinion has lived through the ages.
Right.
and has been an excuse for everything.
You know, it's interesting because you talk about, is there one God or more? It's a question. And that is our religion. Our religion is a thinking person's questioning religion. And I feel like that part of us, that curiosity, makes us so special in a way, and yet we're vilified for it. And yet that curiosity and the way we think has helped make the world so much better on so many levels. Nobel Prizes. If we talk about modern day stuff, we have heart transplants, we have GPS, cell phone technology, medical, scientific, the arts.
We have a consistent belief that human beings should care for each other. That is consistent in our teaching. And I don't see that our teaching has ever asked about which human being should be what.
Right.
No, we are human beings and we must take care of each other. If we don't, we're going to go under.
Right.
Because we have the means. We can now destroy ourselves. Absolutely. I don't know what happens after this.
Right.
But we can destroy ourselves.
It's sad.
It's actually, if you think about it, you're panic stricken.
Right.
But that is the case, and we might as well get used to it. And if we accept that, maybe we will be wiser, and maybe we will care for each other. Maybe.
I mean, but at what point? I mean, like, how bad does it have to get until we?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Look at the today.
Yeah,
today, the people in under Hitler #2, I call him.
Right.
What happened? We were supposed to never again allow such things. And it's allowed, and it's going on, and there's very little being done.
I love that you said that, because as a kid, I said I asked, my father served in World War II, an American. You grow up in Hebrew school, it's like, it's in Hebrew school, it's like, we learn about the Holocaust very young.
Yes.
And you question it as a child, like, why didn't you do this? And why didn't you do that? And my mother, who lived in Manhattan, we didn't know a lot. We weren't told a lot. And then once they went over there and they saw and whatever. Okay. Here we are living in a world where we see it in real time and we're still behaving the same way.
Yes, we are.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. And it saddens me. And I lose sleep over it.
Oh, I bet.
Do. Yes, I do.
Sally, you survived the Holocaust, and I really want to be able to tell everyone your story. Would it be okay if we started from the beginning?
Start wherever you like.
At the very beginning. A very good place. That's a Holocaust movie.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Did you watch that movie?
My mother took me to see it. And
Sound of Music,
yes. And it was her favorite movie. And
that's your favorite movie? I love that movie. Okay.
And I was a little girl, and I was very terrified by the Nazis. Those scenes where they're hiding in the Abbey trying to escape the Nazis.
And then at the end, the Von Trapp family singers! The family Von Trapp! Okay. Yeah. Sally, so you were born in Poland?
Yes.
Can you tell?
1934.
Oh my God, you look fabulous.
That's a year after Hitler rose to power.
33, he rose to power.
Right. And
okay, your father's talking really loud. Can you close? I can hear it. Wait, we have to stop.
What is that?
It's your lovely husband on the phone.
Oh. He doesn't believe he's loud, but he's very loud.
I'm loud, but okay. I'm sorry, Sally. Okay, so thank you for letting me call you Sally, because my mother, if God rest her soul. How dare you call her Sally? That is Mrs. Frishberg to you. Okay. So you were born in Poland, in 1934, which was a year. So Hitler rose to power in 33.
Right. And I remember it very, very well, the Polish scene. I mean, I was a part of it. I liked being there.
Right, in Poland.
Yes, and in spite of the fact that I was often insulted, I didn't know it was an insult. They would say to me, "Dirty Jew, go to Palestine." I didn't know where Palestine was. I didn't know why they were sending me there. I didn't, where you came from. I had no idea.
Right. So what town was this in Poland?
It was called Ujajowice. It was like all the other little towns.
What was it like life there?
Charming as far as I was concerned, because I was happy.
And what
It
kind
had a population of 150 people.
No way.
Yeah.
And so you all knew each other. How many Jews versus and non-Jews?
Not very many Jews. I don't know the number. You might, because
I read someplace there were 50 Jews.
Out of the 150.
Out of the 150.
So that's a third.
Substantial.
Yeah.
That's a substantial Jewish population.
And you had a synagogue and...
My grandfather, my mother's family, had a very large room in which there were very many what were called bankbettels. In other words, they were benches. You open up the bench, you slept in there. But when you weren't sleeping, it was a bench.
Right.
And the people came there and they prayed. And I used to go with my father to that synagogue, to my mother's family, and I would play with whoever would play with me. They were a very large family.
Right.
And I was sort of a little butt around the place,
right.
You know. I pulled on everybody's legs. And I was very little still, so I remember.
Okay, I'm going to have to say you're still... I mean, I know I'm gigantic, but you're little. Okay.
My mother has shrunk,
but
she's no
adorable.
longer 5 feet tall.
Okay.
I'm less than 5 feet now. And it was all it was charming. It was loving. It was tolerating. In other words, everybody I'd come, I'd pull on their pants and they wouldn't. Nobody was ever unkind to me.
Right,
Nobody. I can't remember a soul that didn't allow me to do whatever I pleased.
Right,
if
you were
I
a
wanted
child.
to
Yeah.
climb on them, I climbed on them. And it was a very nice life as far as I was concerned.
Were you religious?
I didn't know what religious was. At this point in time, I can tell you that I'm not among the most religious people in my community.
Oh, well, we're in... by the way, I need to ring this 4,000 million times. We're in Midwood, right?
Yes.
Which is Jew... Yeah, I mean, we're in Jewville.
Right.
Yeah.
It is Jewville.
Yeah.
But I am Jewish. I don't deny my Jewishness.
Right.
But am I religious?
Observant.
Ooh, can we talk about that for a few hours?
Right. But
that's the other thing, that my mother raised me in this household where a lot of survivors surrounded my grandparents, my great uncles, stuff like my aunts and uncles, stuff like that. But like the connection to God was always like, does God really exist?
Well, I can see questioning that. I mean,
100%.
Who better to question that?
Right, 100%.
So,
and of course, once you question if God exists,
right,
you come to the conclusion, yes. And the question that follows, why doesn't he do something?
Right.
What kind of a God is this? To let what happens happen and do nothing? When does this God intervene and do something? So you get into a whole mess I don't go there. I say I am what I am. I'm Jewish. Believe me, I'm Jewish.
Right.
Ask anyone you
Right.
want. I'm Jewish. That's enough for me.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
How many kids in your family? What number are you?
I was number one. My father said when I was born, he thought it was the most wonderful thing in the world, the most wonderful day, the most wonderful date. Everything became Wonderland when I was born. And it was that way for us. We were a very close family until we were ripped apart.
And siblings?
I have 2 siblings still, but I lost 2.
So there were 5 of you all together.
Yes.
5 kids.
All girls.
All girls.
All girls.
I bet your father was like, oh.
Must have wondered
Yeah.
what will happen.
Yeah.
And what happened was not good.
And how far apart were all the siblings?
We were 2 years apart from each other consistently.
So 10.
The last 2 were twins,
Okay.
but the first 3 survived. We are still, all 3 of us are still alive. None of us are in good shape anymore.
Oh, please. You look fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Amazing.
Sleepless, but amazing.
I don't think people sleep anymore. Anyway, I don't. Okay. So you're the eldest of 5.
Right.
And you're having this idyllic childhood, essentially.
Loving.
And do you have Shabbat dinner?
Well, luxury was not a part of our lives because it was a poor world.
Right.
So we were living in a poor world and we lived accordingly.
Okay.
But hunger was not a part of
Right.
it. We were not hungry. We were not, the circumstances were not luxurious.
Right.
But I didn't know about
But it doesn't matter. You don't know,
No, it
you don't,
didn't
and you
matter
had
at all.
love. And what did your father do for a living?
My father, I gave it a name. I call it, he was a middleman in the world of
Dairy products.
dairy connections. For
Okay.
example, being a Jew, he owned no land and he owned nothing.
Right.
So what he did was he had cows. I don't know if he rented those cows or if he bought somehow. I don't know the arrangement. He had nowhere to put the cows because he had no accommodations for them. So the richest man in town who had a beautiful castle that I admired immensely.
Not Jewish?
No, not Jewish.
Do you remember his name?
Sure, Mr. Oh, darn it! It'll come back to me. It always comes back to me, but for the moment I can't remember.
Okay.
And of course, the age is the reason why I don't remember for the moment.
I don't remember either, but I don't know.
But
He had this big castle.
he had this big castle, and he had all this place for everything. And my father rented space from him. Like renting an apartment.
Right.
He rented for his cows.
Like office space.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the cows were there. And the cows were fed. Now, who paid for the feeding of the cows?
Right.
Had to be my father because he got the milk.
Right.
And what did he do with all this milk that he got? He took it to town. Now, the next town next to us was, there were 2. On one side was Kanchuga, and on the other side was...
Shaversk?
Przewozk. Very good, Leslie. Thank
Oh, the smile on your face.
Przewozk. And my father used to go to these towns and arrange for the alteration of this milk into butter, cheese.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Buttermilk. My father used to drink buttermilk. Yeah.
Sour cream.
Yeah.
Whatever
Cottage
came
cheese.
Right. Whatever came from the milk they made, and my father sold it. And the income from...
How did he transfer? Did he have a cart? Like, what did he...
No, my father had these cans, big cans, and they were filled with milk, and they were taking on carts.
Carts, yeah.
Horse and...
Did he ride the horse and buggy? Or?
No, he didn't ride them. He had people ride them.
And what do you know the name? Was there a name of the company? Or
well, there was. As far as I know,
they should have called it When the Cows Come Home. Oh, God, I am funny, people. Okay, so and everything was fine. You said that you knew that people would say stuff to you, but did your parents warn you? You know, people don't like us, or
no,
you know,
my parents never warned me. I never asked my parents because I didn't care.
Right,
I mean,
you're a
they
kid.
said it didn't matter.
And you were happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very, very happy. And I remember we used to break for, picking and eating.
Right.
And I would go to my friends, my Catholic friends.
Right.
Everybody in Poland is Catholic.
Right.
And then there are a few Jews.
Right.
And the Jews would wind up in the homes of all my Catholic friends, where I'd have bread, you smeared butter on it, you put cheese on it, and you got a cup of milk, and what could be better?
And you go to school, and it's a mixed school. How many kids in your class when you were?
I never went to school.
You didn't go to school?
Never went to school. By the time I was old enough for school,
that's when
Germans said that we were not allowed. No Jews allowed. Yeah. I arrived in school. My first day in school was an event. My mother had me all dolled up.
Can you say the name of your parents?
Yes. Sylvia Gams Engelberg, married Leon Engelberg.
Right.
And this Sylvia dolled me up, prepared me for school, took me to school.
Right.
And I was sitting in class, and during the course of the lesson, the Nazification, had I been older, I would have known what he's doing.
Right.
But I had no idea what the hell he was doing. So the teacher, the Nazi teacher, was teaching. And
you were sitting at your desk?
I was sitting at my little table.
Oh, okay.
And I was given a paper, which I couldn't read. And when the day ended, I saw my mother waiting for me. And when I got to her, I don't know if she took my paper or she had her own paper that she was given also. I don't remember. But she said to me, she held the paper and she said, "You can't come back to school." And I was horrified. I mean, this was heaven on earth. And she said, "You're Jewish and they don't want Jewish children in school."
Now, at this point, are you wearing a star, or you don't know anything that's going on? They've shielded you, but they knew.
And I knew too. Every Saturday afternoon, my parents had the entire big Jewish community in their house. And every Saturday afternoon, they talked all afternoon. And they were talking always the same thing about him.
Right, and it was.
Him was Hitler. And what will he do? Where will he go? What are his intentions? What does he mean?
Right.
Oh, I was sick of the subject. But I listened because what else was I going to do?
Right.
And
So somewhere inside you said, "Oh, this is the him thing."
I began to wonder what this is all about.
And you're how old? 6?
Yes, exactly 6. Yes. And now I realize that him has decided that I can't go to school because I'm Jewish.
Right.
And I was very upset at that. That really made me...
Well, of course.
All day long. What was I going to do?
Right.
They were in school.
Right.
I had nothing. So I was not happy. But I had a wonderful uncle, Naphtali. Naphtali was my father's youngest brother. And he had returned from the defeated Polish army. And he was back home,
right.
a runaway soldier. And he played with me. He taught me the alphabet. He taught me numbers.
Okay.
He brought me candy. He was a gem. And so
he gets murdered by the Nazis.
Thanks so much, Leslie, because I wanted that to come out at this point.
Sorry. Okay, so just edit. I just think it's so sad.
I know.
It's horrific.
It is. And he taught you and helped you and
yes. So whatever I learned, whatever I learned in Poland, I learned from my uncle Naphtali. Because I wasn't in school at all.
What a great
They got
person.
me on the first day.
With that, I heard the chair move. I'm sorry. She's got spilkies, this one, getting up. Oh, we're getting a picture of
She show you Naphtali.
Oh, let me see a picture of Uncle Naphtali.
Yeah.
So this is my grandfather's side of the family.
Okay.
That's my mom.
Okay.
My Aunt Mimi.
Sally, Mimi.
My grandparents.
Her parents. Oh, they're so good looking.
No, that's right. My mother's parents.
Very.
My grandfather's parents. So my mother's grandparents.
Okay. That's Uncle Naphtali who taught you how to read. And he's handsome too.
Yes, he was.
Good-looking family.
He was a handsome boy, and he would have married my beautiful Aunt Blima, my mother's youngest sister, had they lived. They were so in love.
Okay. So you are now forbidden to go to school. You're home all day. What's the next thing that happens?
The most important next thing that happens is that we are the hosts to 3 German offices because our town did not accommodate visitors.
Right, there's no
room.
hotels.
Nothing. So where did they stay? They stayed in the homes of friends and relatives if anybody came. I don't know how many people came. And now there's an army there.
Now, these are German soldiers who don't like Jews.
Well, in every community there are exceptions.
Right.
One of these 3 officers turns out to be a teacher from Munich. And he is now stationed in our town. And he spots my father's chess set. And he loves to play chess. And my father and he played chess more times than I can think of. I mean, they were always playing. If they
but
were
your father was
together in the
winning,
room,
right?
They were, I think, well matched.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm going to go for the Jew.
And they were also, they were people who were serious about things. And they talked, and I was sleeping behind a wall that was put up so that I had
privacy.
But it was a thin wall, and I could hear every word. I couldn't understand what they were talking about.
Because they were speaking German.
But it was interesting. It was interesting.
Right.
They talked and I listened, and I love history. And I think that's where the love of history was born, in those conversations, because they were discussing the way the human family is evolving, and what's happening and why it's happening. And before, when you said to me, how did it happen? We crossed for a moment
Right.
the question of the difference between Jew and non-Jew.
Right.
And they covered that. They talked about it so happily, so contentedly, so trustingly. They weren't afraid of each other.
Right.
It was lovely. It was very, very
And
nice.
he lived there with...
He lived in our house.
What was his name? Do you remember?
Sure, Mr. Arnold.
Mr. Arnold.
Arnold of Munich, whom my father tried very hard to find.
Oh, I bet.
But he didn't find him, nor a member of his family, nor a stone of his house. Because by the time we got to Munich after the war, and my father went, nothing but stones. Munich was gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's Mr. Arnold and then two other guys.
The other two spent most of their time at headquarters.
Right.
Where was headquarters? It was in that large...
Oh, in the house where the cows were. Wow, in the palace.
That's right.
So that guy...
The owners ran away.
Oh, they did? They left?
Yes. Yes.
And they weren't Jewish.
No, they weren't
But
Jewish.
they wanted to get out before...
Yeah.
But
We don't know what.
I'm reminding you what Mr. Arnold used to say to Grandpa about the war.
That's very important, because it may have been the cause of my survival. Mr. Arnold kept saying to my father that this war is not like every other war. This is a different kind of war. He said the people who get killed first now are not the soldiers on the battlefield. They are the most innocent, the weakest, the least able to defend themselves. You must find a way to defend your family, he said. Find a way, otherwise you won't live.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he persisted. He didn't give up. He would check on my father. Did you find anything?
Wow.
And it was consistent.
Right.
And Mr. Arnold was with us from his arrival in 1939 till Hitler declared war on his friend Stalin, whom he no longer needed.
Right.
So he goes to war, and poor Mr. Arnold has to go and fight. So we lose our friend, Mr. Arnold. And by the way, the great means of communication was Yiddish, because you know that Yiddish is built on German.
Yeah.
The two men understood each other.
So Mr. Arnold spoke Yiddish.
No, he spoke German.
Oh, he spoke German. So okay, gotcha.
Right.
Yiddish, he spoke German. My father spoke Yiddish, but they
figured it
understood
out.
Right.
This week's episode of It's Judy Show with Judy Gold is sponsored by BetterHelp. And if you know me, which I think you do because you're listening to my podcast right now, you know that I am a big advocate for therapy. I think it benefits everyone. I think there's so many people who need it, who don't partake. It is so important for your emotional health and well-being. Therapy is fantastic. It is in every stretch of the imagination. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, please do it. But please give BetterHelp a try. It is entirely online. It's designed to be convenient. It's flexible. It suits your schedule. You fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. I have switched therapists in my life. I've had many, many therapists, and sometimes it's not a great fit for you, but don't give up. Therapy is beneficial. You can learn about yourself, you can process, and just be emotionally healthy. I'm telling you, do it. BetterHelp is great because, when I used to schlep to my therapist's office, it was so annoying. You have to do it, and you sit there and you wait. And then I'm telling you, doing it online is fantastic. And BetterHelp is amazing. I know a lot of people who've used it. So if you're thinking about therapy, go to BetterHelp.com. Let the gratitude flow. This is Gratitude Month, people. So you need to let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/JudyGold, JudyGold, today, and you will get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/JudyGold. You're welcome. Okay, so
I'll help you move the story along a little.
Okay.
Fast forward, they live like this in this small town for a number of years under the Nazis. And then the Nazis say, report to the train station.
So you're at home and you get a notice? How do you get?
We get a placard on the church. On the church wall is a big placard that says that all Jews, the handful that were there, must report to the railroad station, and it gives a date ahead of time. On such a date, at such time, to be resettled in the east of Poland, where everything will be better. Better homes, better jobs, better health care, better schools. Everything would be wonderful there.
And do people believe this?
We don't know what to say.
Right.
We don't know what to do. But my father does, though, because he knew Mr. Arnold.
Right.
And my father, Mr. Arnold said to him, don't believe the liars. The liars will tell you whatever they please. It has nothing to do with the truth. And my father said, we won't go. We won't be resettled. And my father was highly regarded in his little community.
Right.
And people came and said, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?
Right, because he had those meetings every Saturday.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And my father said, I don't know what we should do, but I will tell you this. My family is not going to resettlement.
Right.
And I think you shouldn't either. They said, well, where are we going to go? My father said, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I am going. What happened at the end was that in our town, everyone wound up doing the same thing.
No one went to the train station?
Except my grandfather.
And why did your grandfather go?
Because my grandfather was, my father and my uncles called him a lazy man. See, he brought up these sons and he retired. He didn't go to work. He read. He loved to read. And I inherited that. I love to read. And he read about the German people and their excellence. And he admired them greatly. Mm-hmm. He wasn't one of them.
Right.
But he admired them greatly. And he said to my father, what kind of a crazy guy are you? Why don't you trust these good people who are always doing what's good for mankind? And he trusted, and they took him on the train. And the neighbors found out what they did because it wasn't too far away that they took him.
Right.
Where they brought others from other communities. They lined them up. They gave them shovels, and they had them dig graves.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't know it was graves.
They thought it was, just
they didn't know what, I don't know what they
Yeah.
thought. And after they dug, they shot them into them. And after they shot them into them, they covered them up And our neighbors told us that the soil above often in some spots moved for days. And I got it into my childish little head that my grandfather was buried alive. And for a little while, for a good early years, it was a bothersome dream.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, very bothersome. But as you could almost like do a graph. The more secure I became, the less dreaming I did.
Right.
And then I understood what was happening. You know, I was growing up. I
Right.
was learning.
So you don't show up at the train station.
Nobody shows up except my great-grandfather.
Except the great-grandfather. So before the train station thing, you must leave before the date of the train station.
The night before, we leave.
Okay.
And everybody has a pack. I had a little pack to carry.
Do you remember what was in it? No.
No. I know I had a black little, my grandmother had given me a little coverlet, whatever, a black wool. And I loved it because my grandmother gave it to me. I know I had that.
Okay.
But what else?
And Leslie's clogs.
And my clogs. Yeah, my clogs.
Okay, so you remember that, and then you leave, and they say,
we didn't
"Let's
know
go."
where we're going.
So your parents say, "Let's go, pack up." You each get a bag.
Let's go.
So
Where?
can I jump in for 1 sec? So my grandmother had siblings, had like 11 siblings, and they split up. So the whole family had a meeting.
She's now talking about
My other side, my maternal.
Okay.
Right. Well, my mother's mother.
Right.
So she was one of 12, and they decided to split up. So my mother's family, my grandmother and grandfather, connected with my grandmother's older brother and his wife, because combined, they had the only grandchildren.
Okay.
They had 7 little children. And it was felt that the children were going to be an impediment in surviving. So they decided they would all stay together in an effort to support each other, whatever, and not be a burden on the rest of the family. And the other siblings, some of whom were married, some of whom were single, went in different directions. So one was a group of your grandfather with one of the children, one of my mother's uncles was was special needs. So the father stayed with him because he knew someone had to take care of him. And one of the sisters who was single also stayed with him to help her father take care of. I mean, it was just like a lot of people trying their best to carve out a way to survive.
Right.
And then there were these 4 bachelor uncles who were all young men, really the age of our children. They were all like, the youngest was probably 18. Uncle Norman was probably about 18 at the time.
At this point, I am 10.
So he's 18?
No, wait a minute. I'm 8.
8. So he was 16. And his older brothers, he went with 3 other brothers who were all, if he's 16, one 18, one 20, one 22, whatever. And they went. And everybody dispersed because they felt that a family with 17 people would never be able to survive. Right. Okay, so sorry. I just thought that was...
So there's you and your parents.
And uncle...
And my mother's oldest brother and his wife and his children.
He has 3 children.
Because these 2 children... families decided that we have the same problem, children. Let's stick together. So the 2 families decide we're gonna wander off together, and we wandered.
How many of there were you all together?
7 children and 4 adults.
Okay, and you just start walking.
Where we went into the fields. The fields are all over the place.
Right.
And at this time of the year, late summer, this is now 1930.
42?
No, 42.
Yes.
Right, yes. Very good.
I've been paying attention, Mom.
Oh, Leslie, you're a good student. Yeah.
So where do we go? Into the fields. And when we get there, it's summer. It's
Hot as hell.
no, it's very nice at night in the
Okay.
fields in the summer.
Okay.
And we make ourselves comfortable in the straw, in whatever is on the field. And the harvest has begun, and there's stuff all over the
So
place.
there's food.
Well, it's not food, but there's fruit.
Fruit.
So we collect fruit, and that's our diet. We're on a fruit diet.
Okay.
And
Which probably these days would
Yeah.
be,
People would pay for that.
yeah.
but we have to find a place to hide. So what do we use? The farmers have built the
Haystacks.
stacks, right? But it's not hay. They build everything. Whatever
Right.
they cut, they build
Right.
into stacks. And we would approach these stacks and we would say, we'll take this, you take this, and we were neighbors. And we would, with our hands, we would dig holes because that gives. As you pull, it gives.
Right.
You make a hole, you get inside the hole, you pull back stuff to cover you up, and this becomes your house for a night. Because
And the farmers didn't find you.
oh, I'm sure they knew what's happening.
Right.
They must have wondered, well, what happened to
Right,
my
afterwards,
Yeah,
afterwards.
what happened to my stack? You know?
Right.
But it was not an important issue because they just
Yeah, they build them.
swept it together
Right.
again. So and nobody said anything because they didn't know what to say. We weren't there to tell them.
Right.
Because we changed every night. We had the wisdom to know.
Don't
that we've
stay
got
more
to-
than 24 hours or less than 24. Thank you so much for listening to part 1 of Kill Me Now with Sally Frishberg. Oh, you're not going to even believe part 2. So I know it's a week, and I'm sorry you have to wait the week, but what a story. Kill Me Now is produced by Laura Vogel, edited by Colin Schmaling. This podcast would not be possible without the help of Brittany Jo Sowards. I want to also thank my friend Leslie Wolfowitz for taking me over to her mom's house. I mean, I know you're feeling it too. I mean, you have to be feeling it because these stories are so important, especially with what's going on in the world right now. And you're just going to freak when part 2 comes out. Now, let's talk about me, because I'm really important. And now I know a lot of people listen to the end because they're writing to me. This week's person who listens until the end is my friend and neighbor and husband, Ken Hauk. Okay, Ken Hauk, I love you. I'm mentioning all the people who listen to the end because I love you. If you live in the Los Angeles area, I will be performing for the Netflix Is a Joke Festival Friday, May 6th at 7 o'clock at the Elysian Theater, and Saturday, May 7th at the Greek Theater, where they will be recording a special of gay LGBTQ plus stand-ups. So that'll be really fun. Also, I am going to be performing with Jessica Curson on June 2nd. Yeah, baby! I think that's in Westport, Connecticut, but who the hell knows? It's in Connecticut somewhere. And you know, just go to listen. First of all, you should be a subscriber. You should have left a review of 5 stars, of 5 stars, of 5 stars. You should also be following me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Judy Gold, JEWDYGOLD. Check out my website, judygold.com, JUDYGOLD. You know, that's it. I really love, I don't know who's listening right now. I mean, I know there are people who listen to the end. I can't believe it. So I just have to tell you that I have some exciting things coming up that I'm going to be sharing with my fans. or my fan. I don't know how many I have, if it's in the double digits. But I also know that I appreciate you so much. I can't believe what's going on in this country. Gay. Ron DeSantis is fucking out of his goddamn mind. I just can't believe it. I can't believe it. So hopefully the weather will get nicer and warmer and the sun will be out and people will start acting normal. But I doubt it. I really highly fucking doubt it. So hug the ones you love, and the ones you don't love, don't hug, and just tell them to go fuck themselves, because that's, all right, don't tell them to go fuck themselves. I'm just rambling now, just for my people who listen to the end. But I just want to say thank you for listening and supporting the podcast. And I hope that you enjoyed part 1 of Sally as much as I enjoyed speaking with her. I'm so glad I can eat bread now, because I can't with the fucking matzah. And as we always say, so long.